So this is Taylor Mason, and I'm here today with Representative Patty Kim. This is an ongoing oral history project on the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, diversity within the House, and its impact on members and staff. Thank you so much for taking time to be here today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so if you could just start by telling me a little bit about yourself and how you got to the Pennsylvania House of Representatives.
So it's kind of a long, windy road to the House of Representatives. But I, identify myself as Korean American, and I have the daughter of immigrants from Korea, and my parents have always raised me that, we are very blessed because they were children of the Korean War and know exactly what life is like in other parts of the area where there's a lot of pain and suffering. And even though I didn't quite understand what it meant to have live in a peaceful country and whatnot, I slowly understood that when I compared myself and how I was raised and how certain communities thrived and tried to survive. And I knew that I needed to do something to give back to the community or make it life better or easier with less suffering for other people. And I wanted to be a nurse, and that didn't work out. And then I was kind of desperate and, tried news reporting because I wanted to quickly graduate. And then I got to learn about other people as a news reporter. And then I was asked to run for city council for the city of Harrisburg. And I thought, okay, I've tried so many different ways. Maybe this is how I can help other people. And I was right, and learned so much. 7 years on city council. And then the seat opened up. There was a gentleman been in that office for 20 years for the 103rd district. And I decided to run. He retired, and then won by 43 votes in a crowded race, and now serving as the state rep for the 103rd district.
Okay. So what has been your experience being Asian in the House? I know there's very few members who share your same heritage. Do you think there's been any struggles in getting elected because of the different background, or anything you'd like to share on that topic?
I have to give credit to my voters and my constituents. I don't have a large Asian American population in the 103rd district. It's somewhere like between 2 to 3% Asian American. And so building and receiving the trust from residents was my first hurdle. Mm-hmm. And, being on city council for almost a decade, people were able to watch and see what I do and what I stand for. And so I built credibility that way. But then entering the House of Representatives, there's just so many of us, 203, that whether I'm Asian or not, you have to find your place. You have to find your expertise to somehow stand out and bring something to the table. I don't think it was harder for me because I'm Asian American. I just think it's, I don't really belong anywhere in terms of the Black Caucus, even though they welcome me with open arms. Mm-hmm. I'm not part of a huge delegation regionally. Central PA maybe has about 3 of us in my Democratic delegation. So it's just been harder that way in terms of region versus ethnicity.
Okay, that's a good point there. So maybe I know Representative Helen Tai served for a very brief amount of time, but do you see more Asian Americans running for the House, or hopefully seeing people like you and other representatives seeing more representation? Do you think more will start running for office?
Short answer, yes, but I think it's going to take a while. Okay. As I get out more, and thanks to Zoom, I'm able to reach Asian American groups across the state. Mm-hmm. And just seeing me as a possibility, as an option to be a leader is going to sink in, and hopefully will come to fruition later down the road.
So you kind of talked about this a little bit, but you represent the 103rd district, which is portions of Dauphin County. And you kind of hinted at this, you're the first Asian American to represent this district. What has that meant to you personally? And did you have a relationship with your predecessors? Did they help you give any advice when you came to the House? Anything on that issue?
Did not have a strong relationship with my predecessor. Kind of just learned everything on my own. I did pick a couple of people who were strong on policy, strong on just the internal politics of the House, which was very helpful. My way of thinking is, just observe quickly, listen hard, and try to find your space. But yeah, I just had to learn a lot on my own, and didn't really have any real mentors, unfortunately.
Okay. So you mentioned this also, but the Black Caucus kind of took you into the caucus, since there's not a caucus you said you aligned with. But how did it start? Did they come to you within the first term, or could you explain how that gradual entrance?
Yeah. So I really want to give credit to former Representative Ron Waters of Philadelphia. We had bumped into each other at several events, rallies before I became state rep. We built a relationship when I won. We were discussing ways for me to get involved. And he, as chair of the Black Caucus then, changed the bylaws so that it was not just African-American members of the House, and I guess the Senate as well, but just people of color. So he brought in the bylaws so that I would be able to join them. So I was so appreciative, and that's what I meant by open arms. And, there was just a couple of people who didn't agree with that, but vast majority did.
Okay. That's interesting. I was curious to see the progression there, and that's interesting to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going back to your district a little bit, what kind of issues are important to your constituents, and do they align with the goals and issues that the Black Caucus is taking on at the current time?
Yeah, so I have always been laser focused on 3 different areas since I started, and that was quality public education, criminal justice reform, focusing on expungement, or now the clean slate law, and then economic opportunities, and that laser focused on raising the minimum wage. So I think anybody in the Black Caucus would be supportive of those 3 areas. So yes, I think we align in our priorities.
Okay. So then moving into the Black Caucus service in your tenure, how have you been involved with the caucus itself? Have you had any leadership positions or chaired any subcommittees?
So my first term, I was elected treasurer of the Black Caucus and did that for, 2 years, 1 term. Mm-hmm. So that was the only leadership role that I had. Because our priorities align, I have attended and participated in so many of their activities because I wanted to either learn more or just having that strength in numbers feel. Because again, if I had my own delegation, it'd be like 3 of us.
Yeah.
So it was just nice to have to be part of a larger caucus, and especially having the same priorities.
Okay. So what are some topics and issues you'd like to see the Black Caucus as a whole tackle in the next few sessions?
Reducing gun violence in our neighborhoods, affordable housing, and then to add more resources to the fair funding formula so that our schools can receive what they need to excel.
Okay. So my next question then is, how has your service with the Black Caucus impacted your overall House experience?
Everything, excuse me, in order to do well in the House, you have to build relationships. And it helped me to firm or just, build stronger relationships within the Black Caucus. And then, some of them have been supportive with some of my initiatives, and just collaboration has just been really, really awesome. So I just appreciate, again, the openness to have me there, and just linking arms to fight for some of the same issues.
Currently, or maybe in the past, do you have any really strong relationships with any of your fellow caucus members? Anyone you really work with on legislation, or someone you really like to collaborate with in the caucus?
In the Black Caucus?
Yes.
Yeah, one of my best friends there is Representative Stephen Kinsey. We have worked together on numerous issues. He's the second co-sponsor of my minimum wage bill. I've been part of his criminal justice reform packages. And we get along so well, and just, supporting each other personally, professionally has been awesome. Did you get to interview him? Taylor, did you get to interview him?
I did. He was actually my first interview. He was great. We did it in person.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he was great. He had a lot to share, and he's in a very historic district. So it was really interesting to hear his stories about predecessors, even going back to when he was a child, he knew his predecessors. So it was
neat.
A very unique interview.
Mm-hmm.
My last question then for you is, what advice would you give to other people of color who want to pursue a career in public service?
So I think I would have them write down what is most concerning or feel fearful for them to enter politics, and then talk to people who they respect, because I bet you anything they can, the people who they respect can demystify some of those fears. And I think people let those mental barriers prevent them from moving forward when it's definitely doable. And once they do that, look at politics more of a science instead of an experiment, and to really find the tools and ways to win an election, whether it be joining someone else's campaign, but and then build those relationships and your credibility and your integrity, because that will take you a longer way versus trying to just do all the right steps. Voters do not, there's no science, unfortunately, in the way voters vote. Some people have said, you have a face that I can, that I can trust, to I like your record. And so just talk to us, and I think we could be helpful.
Okay, well, that was my last question. Do you have anything else you'd like to discuss on this topic, or any other issues that come to mind?
No, because again, I feel like a welcome visitor, guest, I don't feel this should be about me. So I just wanted to supplement any missing holes for this conversation. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, because originally the goal was to get stories of former Black Caucus members through talking to current members, but it really changed within the scope to do all diversity within the House and get the current member experience, because we currently only do oral histories with former members. And a lot of times we don't get their current issues as well, because it's, 10, 20 years down the road, they might not remember everything. So we were so happy you were willing to participate, because we do not have, as you noted, many Asian Americans in the House. So it's a perspective we really wanted to capture.
Mhm.
And go ahead.
Taylor, so you reminded me, and when it comes to former members, and I know that you're kind of going away from that, but I do want to mention Vanessa Larry Brown.
Okay.
When we were on the House floor, Brian Sims during his earlier terms, whatever, he was getting shut down by the Speaker of the House. And I saw Vanessa, she's just, Brian standing up there kind of arguing. Vanessa Larry Brown gets up from her chair on the House floor and starts standing behind Brian. And I'm thinking, does she need to pass him? What's going on?
Yeah.
But she was standing there to support him. And then that led other Black Caucus members rather, to come and start standing. So there was like 14 people standing behind Brian Sims in support. And I think because the African-American community has gone through so much pushback and discrimination, they taught me, at least Vanessa Larry Brown and Representative Kurt Thomas, what it's like to stand with your colleagues. And I just thought that was such a powerful visual of, supporting each other, not, anyways, they taught me how to really support your colleagues in doing that and respecting them. And I always appreciate that in the beginning when I first started. So.
Yeah, and those are stories we are not necessarily in the journal, and stories we do not know about. So that's another reason we're trying to do this as well, get stories about those behind the scenes stories of, supporting one another and people mentoring others. So that was a great anecdote to your interview here.
Thank you.
Yeah. We are also working on a new book. So you'll be hearing from our office about a potential survey. We're doing all diverse members of the House. So whether it's Asian American, Indian American, African American, anyone with a diverse background will be included. So, but if you think of anything else and you'd like to share with me, feel free to let me know or have your staff reach out to me. We can gladly do another interview, or if you have anything written, we can certainly add that to your story then as well.
Great. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited and appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much. And especially if you're not feeling 100%, I really appreciate you still being a trooper and doing this interview.
My pleasure, Taylor.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.